Welcome to another episode of Make Mental Health Matter. I am your host, Kelly Melissa Reinhart, and I am excited for you to be back watching, or maybe this is your first time watching. So, thank you so much for being here. And really, the Make Mental Health Matter show is all about bringing people's stories, experts in the field of mental health, advocates of mental health, or those that have been through experiences to share their story so that maybe you find a piece of their story that you really relate with, and you know that you're not alone in this thing that we call life. And that's the best part, I think, about this show, is that we have the opportunity to be here to share whatever experience we have gone through in this thing that we call life. We all experience things different. We could actually be in the same exact spirit experience and have a different experience that comes out of it, which is really interesting how the brain works that way. And so that's why it's important to share our story, talk a little bit more about what we've been through, and being able to help people move through whatever it is that they are experiencing. So, I just said experience a lot of times. I don't know why that was the word that came out, but hey, this show again is not about perfection. It's really about getting the information out. And I have a really amazing, incredible guest on today, the show. And I'm going to introduce you just a little bit to her before I bring her up. So her name is Christina McClendon, and she is a positive influencer on social media, helping people get and remain sober. And I know that she has a really incredible journey that she is going to share with us today. So, without further ado, Christina, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, I know that was like super brief introduction, but tell the audience a little bit more about yourself and your story.
Well, my name is Christina McClendon. I'm from Poplarville, Mississippi. I am I will be 4 years sober August 27th. This has not been an easy journey for me. I was in active addiction for 6 years with my late husband, and I was ready to get sober, and he wasn't. And I chose to, leave and get sober. And 2 months into my sobriety, he passed away in a car accident. And I had every reason to give up. I had every reason to go back to my old ways, but I fought. And I'm proud to say that I'm about to be 4 years sober. And um, I tell everybody that God and my mama saved me because she believed in me whenever nobody else did. And so without her, I wouldn't be here. And she passed away when I was 2 years sober. And me and my late husband's mom are really close. She's my mom. She's there for me in every way. And I just want to show other people that sobriety is possible, and no matter what life throws at you, you can remain sober.
Amazing. Well, congratulations on 4 years. And I know, like you said, it hasn't been the easiest journey, but we have a community outreach coordinator that works with us, and she happened to see your story on social media, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you need to you need to have her on your show." And I know that you are doing a lot with social media on TikTok and really trying to spread this message about sobriety and going through grief and loss. So I just really appreciate you being here and being willing to talk about this conversation.
Yes, it needs to be had. And our community in Poplarville, Mississippi, there is you always see people get arrested for meth and for other drugs. So starting this coming up Tuesday, me and my fiance are actually beginning NA meetings in our church for our community to come together and try to help, you know, tackle this, whatever you want. It's like an epidemic here in our community. Try to, give people a safe place to come, a positive place to come, so people can try to get sober, try to have positive people in your life to kind of guide you. And I mean, I know it's more than just our hometown that needs it, it's everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it really truly so my brain kind of goes in a million different ways as we have these conversations. And my thought, we are doing this event actually with several other nonprofits, and we had this whole conversation around whether we make the event a sober event or we have alcohol there. And it became this conversation that the sober community actually is much larger than probably those that use substances. I know that alcohol is a legal substance, but definitely there's a problem in our country and across the world, really, with drugs and alcohol and substances. And it's not easy to ask for help, want to get clean. And then that is super cool that you're actually offering resources for those that are in the same position that you were.
Right. Well, when I got sober, I couldn't afford rehab. I really didn't know where to start. I just started, and I messaged my mom, and of course she told me I could come home. My dad did not believe in me, not even a little bit. And so my mom had a long talk with him, and that's in the book. I'm not going to give that away. But now he's battling cancer. And to be the person that he didn't believe in, to be the one to take him to his appointments, to make sure he was okay, to make sure he ate and stayed hydrated, and if it wasn't for my mom, I wouldn't be able to be the one to take care of him. And, he's very proud of me and proud of everything I'm doing. And so, I mean, it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling.
That is
So I want
amazing.
to be, I want to be to what people, I want to be able to give people hope, where I didn't know where to find hope. I didn't know what to do. And I want to be able to give that to people who, are lost like I was 4 years ago.
Yeah. And how long were you or how long did you use substances?
6 years.
Okay.
We were on meth, and it was like a snowball effect. We lost everything. We lost our home, our cars. My two oldest boys decided, they were like 11 and 13. They decided to go live with their dad. And then mine and my late husband's kids, we made the decision to let his mom have them because we ended up in a camper trailer that had no power, no water, and it was really cold. So we made the choice to let her have them. And she had them, I want to say she had him about 7 months whenever I was like, okay, I'm done. I want to get sober. And he just wasn't ready. And so I had to make the choice to leave. And whenever I made a year sober and I had a job and I had money and I had a car, she told me, you know, I'm proud of you. You get the kids back, and that was one of the happiest days of my life.
Wow.
And just
And
take
that's
one day at
not Yeah, that's not an easy decision either. Is that, I mean, you knew that you wanted to get out of the life that you were experiencing, and you also had children that were involved, and making that hard decision. That, I mean, one, it's really powerful that you did that. So I absolutely commend you for knowing that you needed to take care of yourself. And you also had people in your life that were able to help, which is amazing.
a
But you also took that chance of, it's scary because your mom, right? And so having to allow somebody else to raise your kids for a time for you to really take care of yourself, that can be really, really hard.
Yeah. Well, it gave me a lot of time to think, of course I was still using drugs, but my late husband Bodie, he would go to work and I was there in that camper by myself all the time, and I missed my life. I missed the life that I had before our addiction, and I just wanted that life back. I wanted my kids back, I wanted my family back, and I knew the only way to have that back is to stop. And I wanted him to stop too, but he just wasn't ready. And whenever somebody's not ready, you can't force them. They have to be ready when they're ready.
Yeah, definitely. So I have a question, and I I just am very curious and also like to ask kind of the little more challenging questions. Was it something, I mean, like when you started using substances, was it something that this may come out totally wrong, the question, but was it something like a past trauma that you were maybe trying to cope with, or was it a learned behavior? I'm just curious, like what kind of led you into the path of using
The
substances?
thing that led me there was, um, I had never used drugs. I didn't do anything. I didn't even smoke cigarettes. I was in a karma. I was in a car accident in 2009 that led to pain pills. And that whole epidemic happened where I was going to a pain clinic, and you know how everybody was trying to shut down all the pain. Anyways, my doctor got shut down. And then I got moved to another doctor for the pain clinic for the pain medications. Well, paying for that became really expensive. And then I began taking more than what I was supposed to. And instead of me going to my doctor saying, "Hey, I think I have a problem," I went to a friend and was like, because I was terrified to go through withdrawal. If you've never experienced opioid withdrawal, it's horrible. So I asked my friend, if meth would help, and of course she said yes. And my late husband was familiar with it, so we kind of started doing it together, and then it just went out of control.
Mm. And
But
that
that's
it,
how it.
yeah, that seems like the not the path, not it's not always that way, right? But a lot of times it does. It starts with opioids, and then you aren't getting the effects that you would prior, and then you take more, and then it leads to more, and right, like they just kind of keep toppling over each other. And I know that through other people that have told me their experience with meth, that it's not an easy drug to get away from.
It's not. And people always ask me all the time, how do you do it? Well, my first thing, I Googled a lot of things because I had no idea what I was doing. And the first thing, go to the safest place you know of. And to me, that was my mom. And then the second is to change your surroundings. Get away from everybody and everything, that like you just cut off contact with everybody that you used with. And that's what I did. And I have a letter at home I thought about putting in the book that my late husband had wrote to me, but I don't know if I don't think I'm going to do that. It's just something that I think I'm going to keep for myself, and not. He wrote it 10 days before he passed, well, before the accident, 10 days before he was in the crash.
Wow.
So I think I'm just going to keep that, for myself.
Yeah. And so I know you said that you made this decision. You're like, I need to get clean and sober. And he didn't choose to or wasn't ready at that moment. And then what was the timeline again from that decision up till the point that he passed away?
So I moved to my parents' house on August 27th of 2020. And then he was in the car accident October 23rd of 2020. And
Wow.
then he was declared brain dead and passed away October 30th of 2020.
Mm.
So
Wow.
I was almost 2 months sober when he passed away.
And was he still using at that time?
Yes.
But then you really, I mean, now you're clean and sober for 2 months. Like you said earlier, is that you could have reverted back to where you were, but you knew that you just had to keep moving forward. And did
Yeah.
you have kids together or was it separate?
Oh, we have two kids together.
That
And
doesn't.
during our addiction, we made the choice to let his mom have the kids because it was so cold where we were, and it was not fit to have children where we were. And we wasn't fit to be parents at the time. We were just so deep in addiction that we were blind to the truth, I guess.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, I haven't personally experienced addiction, but I do know that it's really hard when you get into that place from people that I have had on the show and that I have talked to. And really it's almost like reality but not reality, and being stuck in this the word that comes to my head is wormhole, and that's probably not the right word, but it keeps going, and everything else around you doesn't necessarily matter. It's more of getting that high or feeling better or making the pain go away.
Yes, yes. And there's something else I'll talk about in the book. I don't go into a lot of detail about it because um T's not here, to tell his side, but my husband was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia.
Mm.
Um, and I believe that was from the use. But at the end of his life, he was put on Abilify. I think that's what it was. So it's a shot that he would take once a month to help, him be himself. And I feel like there needs to be more awareness about that because, like, I know a few more people in our hometown that have mental illness due to drug use, and people don't always know that it could be linked, you know, but it can be, and it's really scary. There was things that happened with it, during our addiction that was really scary. The voices he heard and things that he saw that nobody else saw, and I mean, I can't imagine being in his shoes and hearing and seeing the things that he dealt with, you know. And I know that people deal with that. And I mean, I just the thought of how would you feel if you had to go tell somebody I'm seeing something that's not there, you know?
Yeah,
That
I mean, so I teach people just about psychosis, and then also we talk about like hallucinations and delusions, and there are things on YouTube that you can go and experience like an auditory hallucination. So
I've
it is something that's unknown, absolutely.
Yeah. I've looked at that just to see kind of how he would feel or how he felt. Even before he passed away, I was trying to educate myself, and it's scary. That would be terrifying.
Yeah. And a lot of times the voices are not very nice. And so it probably doesn't help with drugs, and then also being in these locations, environments that are not the best environment either. And then you have these voices or you're seeing things. It can be really, really hard. And then a lot of times the with substance abuse you tend to try to numb what's happening, but then like you said, it actually causes more issues down the road. So yeah, I think that's an important conversation, is that you can have drug induced
Yes.
psychosis or uh hallucinations or delusions. So
And there's something that I still question that I will never know is if he would have got sober, would all that have stopped?
mm,
I'll never know. But he did get the shot from our local mental health place. He got it once a month, and it did make him normal again. It made him himself, but he was still getting high on top of it, and so was I. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
yeah, and that's hard.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to our quick first sponsored break. And then once we get back, we'll just chat a little bit more about your story. So we'll be right back after this quick sponsored break.
Okay.
Hello, this is Steve Ramona with the TV show Together We Serve, Fridays, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on E360 TV. Together We Serve.
Hi there, my name is Angelique Kapoor, and I am the host of Take the Lead, a consciousness movement with Angelique Kapoor. Join us on E360 TV every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. Take the Lead, a consciousness movement with Angelique Kapoor.
And like that, we're back. Notice you moved your position as we were doing the break. So
I was fussing at my dog.
oh, no worries. Well, if you just happen to be joining us, thank you so much for watching the Make Mental Health Matter show. My guest, we are chatting about her story and really her journey through recovery, the loss of her husband, and also just really how having to relinquish her children for a time period while she was in addiction and then getting clean and sober. And I know you had mentioned earlier that your mom was your person. She was a person that you could go to and really was the one that helped you get into sobriety and stay sober. And then unfortunately, you lost her 2 years into sobriety. And so I'm curious. I know you said I made the decision that I needed to change my life and I was ready, but he wasn't ready at the time. And you made that choice. And unfortunately, he passed 2 months when you were getting sober. And then as you transitioned through that, what was I mean, other than, I'm like, what is a question that's formulating in my brain? What was the main, like, was it your mom that was like, I need to get clean and sober, and that's the person that I went to ask for help?
Yeah, I knew I needed to get sober. It had been lingering in my mind. Like I remember, I was thinking about this. I remember it being May of 2020. And I remember telling him that I was ready to get sober. Like, I think we need to change our lives. And he said, you can, but I'm not. And I kind of pushed it to the back of my mind and continued living that life. And then whenever August came around, I remember praying. I remember laying on the floor and just praying to God. That was like, the last thing I knew to do was to pray. And I just asked God to help me, to guide me. And I just had this feeling like I need to text my mama. And I did. And that was the first time my mama knew I was on drugs. She kicked me out of the house a couple times because, she knew. But whenever we was that's all in the book. But whenever I was staying with her a couple times, she made me leave. And of course she told me my kids could stay, but I was taking my kids with me. But this was the first time I had ever admitted to her that I was ready to get sober. And so she told me to come home, and I did.
Wow. And what was that like, just so that the audience, those that are out there that maybe don't fully understand addiction like myself, what was that process for you getting clean and sober?
I was scared because I didn't know what to expect. Um, I was very nervous. I felt very judged by my own family, and um I was tired. I slept a lot. I slept in the bed with my mom. My mom and dad, they had separate bedrooms. They hadn't slept together in a really long time because she was a night owl and he was an early bird. So I slept in the bed with her so she knew like my every move. That way she knew that I wasn't doing anything I wasn't supposed to. I wanted her to trust me 100%. And but I slept a lot. I had nightmares, a lot of nightmares, using nightmares. I still have those nightmares. Um, I'd wake up, I would have dreams where I would be using, and I still do that. I have dreams where I'm using, and I wake up in a panic. like, what did I just do? And then realize it was just a bad dream. And even after almost 4 years, I still have those nightmares. But it was scary because I knew some people didn't believe in me at the beginning, and I knew a lot of people were disappointed in me. But I just knew that I knew the person I wanted to be, and I just kept fighting to be her, and I feel like I'm pretty daggum close.
That's amazing. And I know, I mean, it sounds like having the support of your mom and your parents, and although you felt like you were being really judged, but you had that safe space to go back to. And I think that is really, really important. And I don't know, was it just like a cold turkey or was it like progressive? It sounds like it would be really, really hard to just like be like, wake up one day and be like, okay, I'm done. But I don't know if that's what you did.
It was cold turkey. I was just done. Um, my last night in the camper was August 26th of 2020. August 27th, I was packing my stuff into my aunt's car because we were living on my aunt's property. I was packing my stuff up in her car, and the last time I seen my husband alive and well, he was kind of just waving at me and he looked really sad. And that image stays in my head. He didn't want me to go, but it was something I knew I had to do, even though he didn't want me to. And that the image of his face, I'll never forget. I just wish he could be here too, but I remind myself that God had different plans, and I know he's up there with Jesus.
And now you really, I mean, you showcase your story, you're writing this book, and you have really chosen to help others. And I think that's just incredible that you have found that being sober is where you want to stay and be. And then also, I know you lost your mom.
Mhm.
Not too long ago. So, what came up, I mean, around that time?
Well, with my mom, I was living with my parents. Um, when I was 4 months sober, my mom actually had a stroke that landed her into a nursing home. She had to have part of her skull removed because her brain had swollen so bad. And she was in an medically induced coma for probably about 2 months. And once she came out of it, she was paralyzed on her left side. And by this time, I was working. I was working every day. I was getting my kids whenever I was off, and I would go with my dad whenever which he would go twice a week, but I would try to go whenever I was off to go see her at the nursing home. But so she was in the nursing home probably about a year and a half, maybe, a little longer. But we went to go see her when the last time I went up there with my dad, and the doctors told me and my dad that it didn't look good, that she had respiratory failure, and they didn't think that she was going to make it. And she had aspirated and got pneumonia in her lungs. And that day, I told my dad that I was going to bring her home, that I wanted her to be with us while she passed away instead of somewhere with a lot of people who didn't know her and love her. So we brought her home. She was home for 5 days and in our house, and she passed away. I'm engaged now to his name's Alex Hutchins, and she was in our house when she passed. And that was one of the hardest times. Losing my husband, I would have to say, was the worst pain I've ever experienced, but losing my mom was right there. But those are the two hardest losses I've ever had to face. And um my mother-in-law, my late husband's mom, she took me to the doctor because I was not okay. And I'm now on antidepressants. I've been taking them since like November of 2022. So she got me help with that because I was not okay.
I mean, just back to back losses is really, really hard. But two of the closest people to you, and then also going through this journey of sobriety and knowing that you still have a really great support system behind you, which is amazing. Although at points it has felt like they are disappointed or judging you. But it sounds like there's a lot of really incredible people that are surrounding you now. And
Yeah.
I think that being able to go through this journey, although it hasn't been the easiest, it really is putting you in this place that maybe you were supposed to be.
Yeah. I feel like it's my purpose to help other people. My dad, to say he was disappointed in me was as like understatement. Because he didn't even want me at his house when I first got sober. And now to be the person that he calls for everything and to bring him to his appointments and drive him from Mississippi to Louisiana every day for 6 weeks, says a lot. My mother-in-law, she's my person. Like, I tell her everything, and I'm at her house right now.
Nice.
She's sitting right in her chair, so she's here with me. But yeah, it's definitely my purpose. I feel like to help other people and to let people know that there is a way out. No matter what you're going through in life, no matter how hard it is, you can remain sober. Don't ever go back to what brought you, what brought you to your knees. Don't go back. Just keep going forward, no matter how hard it is.
Yeah. And I have heard, I mean, oftentimes when you do get sober, sometimes people relapse, but you also have to pick yourself back up and keep moving forward. I don't know, did you ever experience or have you experienced a relapse?
No,
Good.
no, never.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you have a very powerful mind that you're determined in, hey, I'm going to stay clean and sober. And I know that I've gone through this grief and loss with two very, very close people, and you just have to keep moving forward. And I think that's just amazing that you are able to do that and share the message that recovery is possible. There is hope, there is
There's
light, and you can absolutely do it when you're ready. And like you said earlier, is that some people are ready to change. You can't force somebody to change or go through recovery if they're not ready. But it's also good to know that there are people like you out there that can provide these spaces for others when they're ready.
Yeah. I get messages from all over the world. I've even got messages from the UK, from um, Australia. People just asking me. The one question I always, or the one thing that they ask me that I always struggle with is, can you help me get sober? I can tell you how I did it, but you have to be the one to help yourself. Nobody can love you into it. Nobody can guilt you into it. It has to be you.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk a little bit. We're gonna go to our last quick sponsored break. But once we get back, we'll talk a little bit maybe about that, and then also a brief bit about your book because we don't want to give away too much. So we'll be right back after this quick sponsored break.
Okay.
I lost my middle sister, Carrie, to a completed suicide on February 20th, 2017.
My story, all of it isn't unique. I am a domestic violence survivor and a recovering addict. For 14 years, I was in active addiction, and because of Kelly and the work that she does and the opportunity to have my voice heard, I was able to stay clean and sober and have hit a year. I'm still here, and if it wasn't for Kelly answering my call the day that I thought I was going to take my life.
Curious, and I know that I've heard a lot in the BIPOC community, it is very hush hush. It's like one of those things that you don't talk about. Like, you literally feel like it's not a conversation you can have. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
First, shout out to Kelly, because I'm glad that she asked the question. I researched you before I went on your show, and I saw how real and authentic you were. And I just appreciate the question, because it is different, and we have to have tough, courageous conversations. So yes, I always say I'm a triple diversity threat. I'm a Black woman with multiple disabilities. Now, I'm not really a threat, but to other people, I may be, because people fear the unknown and what they're uncomfortable with.
Kelly's passionate commitment to mental health awareness is a beautiful thing. It's clear in her social media posts, it's clear in the resources that she puts together, in the activities that she provides, her collaboration with organizations, and the consistent way that she continues to deliver a message encouraging people to understand that they can share openly and to break the stigma around mental health. Kelly's topics cover children and adults, talk about things that we can do as a community, things that we can do individually, and her website is packed with information and resources and all kinds of contacts that you can use to reach out, whether you're dealing with something yourself or you're looking to help somebody else who is struggling. I encourage you to check it out.
Oh, man.
Like that. We're back. All right. If you happen to be joining us, thank you so much for watching, but I would recommend you also go back and watch the rest of the episode. Christina and I have been really talking about her journey through sobriety and then the loss of her mom, and her late husband. And now I know that you are also helping with your father, but you are also engaged, which is very exciting with all the things that are happening in your life. And you really use the social media platform to share your story, share your experience. And I think that is just the most incredible thing, because sometimes in society we are scared to be judged, right? And we're scared to share our story because we're not sure how people are going to react. And we kind of we really open ourselves up to being vulnerable and sharing from the heart, which I know you're writing this book to be able to also share all of the details throughout this journey. But what has it, and you mentioned before we went to the break that you get messages from across the world. And one of the top questions that you get asked is having people want you to help them get sober. But you also mentioned that, again, you can share your journey, but it's going to be very different for everyone, depending on what substance they're using, how long they have been using it. And there's lots of different factors, but you're able to just share how you did it. And so my question or my thought around this is the book. What made you get to a place that you wanted to write a book and share this experience?
Well, I have been sharing my story on social media. First time I said out loud to the world, I was 4 months sober. And then I slowly started telling my story, little bits and pieces through little videos or my accomplishments. And I had more than one person say, you should write a book. And I'm like, nobody wants to hear about my life. Well, it kept being said to me, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. So I made a post about it one day, and somebody tagged my book editor in my post. Oh, Karma. The dog's whining. But somebody tagged my book editor in my post, and I reached out to her, and that's how it happened. And the book will be out September. I'm not exactly sure what day, but September of this year. So 2 months.
Nice. Well, congratulations. I mean, that is quite the feat just to even write a book and then expose yourself even in that way. But I have a feeling that it is going to turn out really amazing and it's going to help a lot of people just through their journey that they're going through
I
also.
hope so. And the book is an easy read. Like, it's not, super thick. It's going to be an easy read. It's a soft cover. There's going to be pictures in it. It's just, it's something that I want people to get inspired and, either pass the book on and say, hey, you need to read this. There's hope. Just read her story, and maybe it'll help you get sober, you know. And another thing that people comment to me all the time, and it's heartbreaking, is I don't know their ages, but I even made a video about the kids saying, I wish my mom could do this. I wish my dad could do this. There's so many, and it's just heartbreaking because there's so many people losing their lives to addiction, people losing their kids losing their parents, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah. I love when animals pop in. That's like my favorite part of the show. There are so many people really in this world, in this country, that are addicted to whether it is prescription, non-prescription substances that are drugs, alcohol, right? There's so many different levels, and having children reach out to you and saying that they wish their parent could get sober, that is truly heartbreaking. And I'm sure it's hard every single time you see those messages.
It is. And another thing that I worry about with everything is I've had this conversation with my daughter. She's supposed to be 16. And then I have a son who just made 13. They're still in school. My two oldest boys they're grown now, but my two youngest kids are still in school. And I had the whole conversation before I even wrote the book. I'm like, are y'all okay with this? Your pictures are going to be out there. Our story's going to be out there. Are you going to be okay with this? And they both agreed that they will be okay. And I mean, there's a lot of kids here that know me as Bailey's mom. Oh my God, you're Bailey's mom. Or I follow you on TikTok. And I just don't want them to get a negative, side effect of our story being out there. That's one of my biggest concerns. But they're pretty strong kids. They've been through a lot. They're pretty resilient. But kids are mean. Some kids are just mean for no reason. And I think something should happen with bullying because kids lose their lives to that, and it's awful.
Yeah, so something you also said that I wanted to bring up too is that we don't often talk about overdose as suicide. And I think that's also a conversation because with substance use, it is a mental health challenge. It's a negative coping mechanism generally. So when we can build in the positive coping mechanisms, but also really thinking about overdose, you're slowly killing yourself or potentially quickly killing yourself. So I think that is a part of the conversation, is understanding that substance use is a mental health challenge. And then also that overdose is and can be considered as dying by suicide. And a lot of us don't really talk about it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. I just want to be able to do more for people, That's all I want.
Yeah. Well, I am just so thankful, and we're coming almost to the end of this. I know that you have the book coming out. You also are going to be changing lives. You said that you are now offering meetings Tell a little bit more about that for those people that are in your hometown.
Okay, so the meetings will be every other Tuesday from 6:30 to 7:30 at Faith Memorial Baptist Church. We made the time a little later because like I looked up all the other meetings around our area and they all end at 5:30, from 4:30 to 5:30. And people are working. They don't, if you want to go to a meeting, you need time after you get off work. So we're offering meetings that last longer in the evening, and they're for everybody. There's no judgment. It's a safe place for everybody to come and talk about their experiences, talk about what worked for them, or even if they have a family member that they're trying to understand, they're welcome too. And it's just a safe place.
That's amazing. Well, I am so glad that you chose to come on my show and share your story, and then also are doing amazing things in the community, staying sober, really having open conversations with your children, which not a lot of parents do. So I 100% commend you there. And then writing this book that really showcases your journey. So if anybody wants to follow you, where is the best place for them to find you?
Either on Facebook or TikTok, or both.
And this should be your TikTok, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's the TikTok.
Awesome. Well, any final thoughts that you would like to share?
I just want people to know that you can recover. Recovery is possible and it's beautiful on the side. And it's never too late. As long as you're breathing, you can get sober.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much again for being my guest. I really appreciate you just being vulnerable and sharing all of this with us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, y'all. That was another amazing episode of Make Mental Health Matter. I think just the whole conversation around substance abuse and use is a really important conversation to have, but also knowing that recovery and hope is possible. If you are somebody out there that is struggling with an addiction challenge, reach out. We do have some resources on our website. It's makementalhealthmatter.org. We are currently in the process of growing what we're calling our trusted resource hub, which will have resources inside Colorado and outside of Colorado. Since our home base is in Colorado, that's kind of where we're starting. But we are really digging into the recovery space also, because there's a lot of different nuances to the recovery space. And whether you are somebody like Christina that can quit cold turkey, or maybe you need a little bit more assistance in having that journey, or going through that journey, because it's not always easy just to quit cold turkey. So I invite you to reach out to us. If not to us, there are lots and lots and lots of resources out and about, I'm sure, in your community, and people like Christina that you can reach out to. So I'm going to drop this is her TikTok one more time. Go follow her and listen to her story more, and then go buy her book, because it's coming out in September. Not sure the exact date, but I bet you if you go follow her, you will know when that will be out. No matter what you do, please make sure that you come back next Monday. You can watch on E360 TV, or you can listen on Dream Vision 7 radio by simply saying, Alexa, play Dream Vision 7 radio. No matter how you tune in, just make sure that you come back and tune in next Monday, because I have incredible guests that are stacking up. So I will see you back next week. Bye, y'all.